For this assignment, the members will be discussing Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. Erik Erikson created the stages of psychosocial development hypothesis in the 1950s. He did this to further Freud's theory of psychosexual development. According to this theory, there are 8 distinct stages of personal development that occur throughout life and are influenced by biological, psychological, and social factors. This biopsychosocial approach has had an impact on a wide range of academic areas, so it would be foolish to try and thoroughly summarize Erikson or clarify the true nature of his concept. Therefore, the key thematic components of the theory are described in this article. Now, Erikson's theory suggested that your ego identity develops throughout your entire life during 8 specific stages, starting from infancy and ending at adulthood. During each stage, the person experiences a psychosocial crisis, which could have a positive or negative outcome for personality development. The first stage is infancy. Basic trust versus mistrust. It begins at birth and lasts until a child turns 18 months old. Here, Erikson stated that this stage is the most important period of a child's life because it shapes his or her view of the world and overall personality. If trust isn't established at this stage of development, it's more difficult to establish later in life. Here, they may feel a sense of hopelessness when faced with a crisis. Stage 2 is toddlerhood. This stage begins between the ages of 18 months to around age 2 to 3 years. Children at this stage are focused on developing a greater sense of self-control, so please encourage them to be independent because if not, they may feel discouraged, ashamed, or doubtful of their abilities. The next stage is stage 3, initiative versus guilt. It occurs during the preschool years between the ages of 3 and 5. Here, Erikson stated that children at this age focus on doing things independently and begin to develop a sense of aims and goals. When the child feels courage to do things independently, they do it. If they are discouraged, they will feel guilty. Stage 4 is industry versus inferiority. It begins between the ages of 6 and lasts till age 11. During this stage, a child is becoming aware of his or her individuality. If they don't receive positive reinforcement for the things they do, for their accomplishments, they may feel inferior or incompetent, and we don't want this, of course. Stage 5 is identity versus confusion, and it begins during adolescence at around 12 and lasts till about 18. During this time, adolescents tend to explore their independence and develop a sense of self that everyone faces a developmental conflict that must be resolved successfully to develop the primary virtue of that stage. Here, Erikson was interested in how social interaction and relationships affect development and growth. Stage 6 is intimacy versus isolation. This stage begins at 19 and can last until age 40. Erikson stated that during this stage, persons explore relationships, leading toward longer-term commitments with someone who is not a family member. This can lead to a happy family relationship with things like a sense of commitment, safety, and care, or abstaining from intimacy can lead to fearing commitment that leads to isolation, loneliness, and sometimes depression. For stage 7, generatively versus stagnation, this stage begins at age 40 and lasts till about 65. Persons tend to develop a sense of being by giving back to society through raising their children and becoming involved in community activities and organizations. Persons look out for each other and acknowledge to the younger generation, and if they don't act as mentor, they may feel bitter and unhappy, and this leads to relentlessness and isolation from your friends, family, and society. For the last stage, 8, ego integrity versus despair, this age begins at 65 and can last throughout the rest of your life. Here, Erikson believed that if persons see their lives as unproductive, they feel guilty about their past and feel that they haven't accomplished much or their life goals. So they tend to become dissatisfied with life and develop despair, which can lead to depression and homelessness. But if a person is satisfied with their life, they age gracefully. You often feel pride in what you've accomplished and want to demonstrate your wisdom to others. In conclusion, it is critical to realize that Erikson's thesis revolves around the idea of balance. The two opposing poles are positive and negative ends. And this is for each of the 8 tensions. Finding a sense of equilibrium between these two poles is a person's main psychological effort when they are working on the developmental goal connected to each tension. During this time, people will experience pulls towards both the positive and negative poles, but the objective is to feel as though the positive and negative elements have been successfully resolved. These references will help you to see where we gained our information for our assignment. Do enjoy and thank you.